Today, we're going to discuss a book that will teach you how to use your mind to become a mastermind, just like Sherlock Holmes. If you're not familiar with Sherlock Holmes, let me tell you, he is one of the most famous fictional detectives in the world. Created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, people have been fascinated by him for generations. Sherlock Holmes is known for his exceptional cognitive skills, keen observation, and deduction powers. He notices tiny details that the average person overlooks, and he builds his theories from them, which are always correct. Have you ever wondered if you could think like Sherlock Holmes? In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can apply his techniques in your daily life to improve your problem-solving and decision-making skills. We all have to make decisions every day and face numerous challenges. But what if you could solve every problem like Sherlock Holmes, or make tough decisions easily? It's possible. All you need is to train your mind the way Sherlock Holmes did. Before we dive into the techniques, let's explore one of Sherlock Holmes' cases to understand what makes him such a great detective. It was a cold, foggy night in London, the kind that's always shrouded in mystery and danger. But this time, Sherlock Holmes was faced with a case that wasn't just strange, but terrifying. This is the story of the Red Skull mystery, a case that had the entire city of London in a grip of fear. Sherlock and Dr. Watson were enjoying a quiet evening at home when there was a sudden, loud knock on the door. A panicked woman rushed in. Fear was visible in her eyes. She introduced herself as Mrs. Elizabeth Martin, the wife of a prominent businessman in the city. "Mr. Holmes," she said in a trembling voice, "someone has killed my husband, and a red skull mark was left beside his body. The police have failed to solve it, and now I need your help." Holmes calmed Mrs. Martin and took all the information she had. Mr. Martin's body was found in his office, and beside him was a red skull mark, made in blood. This mark had also been linked to other murders happening across London. Holmes immediately began his investigation. He and Watson went to Mr. Martin's office. When they arrived, Holmes sensed something odd. Everything in the room appeared normal, but one thing caught his attention: the red skull mark, which seemed to have been made with blood. Holmes examined the mark with his magnifying glass. It didn't look like something an ordinary person would make. The lines were clear and precise, almost as if they had been drawn deliberately with great care. "Watson," Holmes said, "this isn't the work of an ordinary criminal. This mark is from someone skilled, and we must take it very seriously." As Holmes dug deeper into the investigation, he discovered that this red skull mark was not only found in Mr. Martin's office but also in other parts of London. What could it mean? Holmes thought long and hard and realized that this wasn't a typical crime. There was a larger mystery behind it. He began to understand that the places where the mark had been found were all connected in some way to a secret organization. What was the connection? Holmes' keen mind began to weave together the pieces of the puzzle, and it became clear that this was not just a simple murder case. It was a part of something much bigger, something far more sinister. The Red Skull organization had been targeting the wealthy people of London, pressuring them to meet their demands. Holmes continued his investigation and soon discovered that this organization was a secret union of some of London's most influential businessmen and leaders. They used the red skull mark to intimidate their opponents. However, the murder of Mr. Martin baffled Holmes. After all, he was also a member of this union. So why was he killed? Holmes, using his sharp logic, deduced that Martin had tried to defy the union, which led to his murder. Holmes and Watson quickly devised a plan to expose this organization. Holmes instructed Mrs. Martin to invite all the businessmen to her husband's funeral. He had cleverly set the stage for a trap. At the funeral, Holmes observed the faces of the businessmen and noticed some showed signs of anxiety. Holmes had even involved the police in the matter. As soon as the funeral ended, Holmes stepped forward and addressed the crowd in his unique style, saying, Mr. Martin's murder was a calculated conspiracy, and all of you are involved. The businessmen were stunned. Holmes then presented solid proof he had gathered during his investigation. You thought you could carry out your plans by instilling fear in this city, Holmes continued. But you forgot one thing. In the world of crime, nothing escapes Sherlock Holmes. Ultimately, the Red Skull organization was exposed, and all the culprits were arrested. London was saved from a major threat, and Holmes added yet another complex case to his diary. For Holmes, it was just another case, but his reasoning and logic once again proved that no mystery was beyond his intellect. Sherlock's greatest strength when solving any case was his observation and attention to detail. He didn't just look at things, he truly observed them. Sherlock noticed things that normal people would miss, which is what set him apart. Holmes once said, "You see, but you do not observe." This means we often look at things superficially without really examining them, but Sherlock examined every small detail, no matter how insignificant it seemed. That's why he was so successful in solving cases. You too can improve your observation and attention to detail like Sherlock Holmes. Here are some practical tips. 1. When you are in a situation or looking at something, observe it thoroughly. Pay attention to its color, texture, size, and the things around it. For example, when you enter a room, carefully observe the layout and placement of items. 2. When you talk to someone, don't just listen to their words. Pay attention to their body language, facial expressions, and the way they speak. This will help you better understand their emotional state and thoughts. 3. Play games that help improve your memory and ability to focus. For instance, you can enter a room, observe everything carefully, and then step outside and try to write down everything you remember. This will enhance your memory and observational skills. 4. Try to notice small details in everyday things, like spotting grammar mistakes in an article you read or noticing small inconsistencies. This will train your mind to focus on the little things, just like Sherlock Holmes. By practicing these tips, you can start honing the skills that will make you a better observer and problem solver, just like the legendary Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes' ability to observe and pay attention to details is not just an impressive skill. It's what sets him apart from everyone else. To understand the power of his observation, let's look at an example. Once, Sherlock and Dr. Watson were sitting in their room, and Sherlock asked, "How many times have you seen these stairs?" Watson replied, "Hundreds of times." Sherlock then asked, "So, how many stairs are there?" Watson couldn't answer, but Sherlock immediately replied, "There are 17 stairs." Why? Because Sherlock didn't just look at the stairs. He observed every detail, memorizing it all. This example highlights that Sherlock doesn't simply glance at things. He observes them thoroughly, storing every detail in his mind. This ability to observe and pay attention to details doesn't just help Sherlock in his professional life as a detective, but also in his personal life. If we can develop our own observation and attention skills like Sherlock, we can see things from a fresh perspective and enhance our problem-solving abilities. Remember, you see, but you do not observe. This small difference can help solve even the most complex mysteries. Let's now move on to another important lesson from Sherlock Holmes: the significance of memory and how to manage it. To explain Sherlock's mind, Maria Konnikova gave a brilliant metaphor, calling it the brain attic. This metaphor suggests that our brain is like an attic or storage room where we store memories and information. However, just like an attic can become cluttered with unnecessary items, our brain too can become disordered if we fill it with useless information. According to Holmes, our brain is like an attic with limited space, and we should only store the information that is truly important and useful. Sherlock organizes his thoughts and memories in such a way that whenever he needs specific information, he can find it immediately. In reality, Our brain also has limited resources and capacity. If we fill it with unnecessary details, we won't be able to store the important information. Therefore, we need to decide which information to store and which to let go of. One of Sherlock's principles is that only important information should be kept in the brain attic. This is what we call selective memory. When we clear out irrelevant information, only the useful and important details remain. This way, when we need to solve a problem, the relevant information is immediately available to us. Our thinking and decision-making process becomes faster and more accurate. For example, if you need to remember various mathematical formulas, you should focus only on the ones that are useful for your daily needs. Useless information clutters your brain's attic, making it harder to access the important data. Just like an attic needs regular cleaning and maintenance, our brain's attic also requires periodic upkeep to ensure that only relevant and useful information remains. By regularly removing unnecessary details, we ensure that our brain remains clear, focused, and ready to solve any problem that comes our way. Sherlock Holmes believed that by keeping only the most important information in our brain, we can handle any challenge more efficiently and effectively. In addition to selective memory, Sherlock Holmes emphasizes the importance of maintaining our memory by regularly refreshing our knowledge. Just like how we review what we've learned to ensure it stays fresh in our minds, we should periodically revisit and reinforce the information we find crucial. This repetition helps ensure that important details are securely stored in our brain, and when needed, we can recall them easily. For example, revisiting what you've learned and studying it repeatedly will help retain that information for the long term, making it available whenever necessary. Now, let's dive into another lesson that plays a significant role in problem solving: imagination and creativity. While Sherlock Holmes is often seen as a logical, fact-based individual, a large part of his success lies in his creativity. Whenever faced with a problem, he doesn't just rely on available facts. He uses his imagination to explore different possibilities and scenarios, making his thinking unique. His ability to imagine various outcomes allows him to see things from angles others miss. If he only depended on facts, he might fail in several cases. But by using his imagination, he thinks through every possible direction, helping him find solutions. In our daily lives, when we face a problem, we often follow the usual paths we're familiar with. However, like Sherlock Holmes, if we approach problems with a fresh mindset, we can uncover solutions that go beyond typical thinking. Creativity means seeing problems from different angles and finding new, unique solutions. Sherlock often sees aspects that others overlook, and his creative thinking helps him grasp the full picture. For instance, when examining a crime scene, he doesn't just look at the sequence of events. He imagines what could have happened if things had been different. Sherlock also uses a technique called scenario visualization. Whenever he faces a problem, he visualizes different possible outcomes. This helps him understand which path is most suitable and which result will bring him closer to his goal. Visualization means imagining different outcomes in advance and analyzing which one is the most favorable. This process also helps him be aware of potential risks and challenges. For example, when you visualize the result of a decision, you can understand both its positive and negative aspects, enabling you to make better choices. Sherlock analyzes different events in his mind and uses these visualizations to reach the right conclusion. This process not only prevents him from making mistakes, but also guides him toward the right path. If you want to develop your creativity and visualization skills like Sherlock Holmes, here are some tips. First, never approach a problem with just one solution in mind. Think from different viewpoints and consider new ideas. Mind mapping is a great technique to organize your thoughts systematically and generate new ideas. It allows you to see multiple options at once and compare them effectively. Additionally, regular meditation and mindfulness practices can help sharpen your creative thinking by clearing your mind and enhancing your ability to focus on diverse possibilities. Practicing visualization can significantly enhance your imagination and provide clarity. This practice helps calm the mind and directs your focus towards creative solutions. Whenever you encounter a problem, try asking yourself questions like, what would happen if this were different? Or what would the result be if I made this decision? These kinds of questions help your brain think in new directions, just like how Sherlock Holmes uses his imagination to uncover solutions that others may miss. Now, let's discuss another crucial skill: emotional control. Sherlock Holmes is known for his ability to separate his emotions from his work. Whenever he investigates a case, he sets aside his personal feelings and focuses entirely on logic and objectivity. This emotional detachment allows him to think clearly and fairly, helping him draw conclusions without any personal bias. Emotions have a deep impact on our decision-making processes. When we face challenges, emotions like fear, anger, or excitement can cloud our logical thinking. Holmes teaches us that by learning to control our emotions, we can prepare ourselves better for any challenge. Emotional control helps us stay calm and focused, allowing us to solve problems more effectively. This principle of emotional control is in line with Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes focusing on things we can control and not wasting time or energy on things beyond our control. For Holmes, this approach keeps him calm and logical, no matter how tough the situation gets. By practicing emotional control, we can handle challenges with clarity and purpose, ensuring that our actions are thoughtful and based on reason rather than impulse. So, friends, this was today's book summary. How did you find it? Please share your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for listening to the summary till the end.